You're listening to the Gate of Trust podcast. Join hosts Matt Trush and Felix Friedberg's heart-to-heart conversations with artists, entrepreneurs, scholars, and laymen who, by strengthening their trust in God despite all odds, experience outright miracles. Trusting in God can literally save lives. And now, Gate of Trust podcast hosts Matt and Felix.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Felix.
And this is the Gate of Trust podcast. Hey, Felix, got a joke for us today?
I might. You ready? You ready, Matt? I've got one.
Sure.
All right, here we go. A surgeon, an engineer, and a politician were arguing as to which profession was older. Well, argued the surgeon, God created Eve from Adam by form of surgery. So I'm assuming that mine is the oldest profession. No, said the engineer. Before life began, there was complete chaos, and it took an engineer to create some semblance of order from the chaos. So, an engineer is older. But, chirped the politician, who do you think created the chaos?
It's a good one. Speaking of surgeons, engineers, and politicians, I'm proud to introduce a Renaissance man in his own right. Our next guest, David Schatzkamer, Schatzy. Welcome to the Gate of Trust podcast.
What's going on?
Felix.
Nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. We had a bris on...
Oh, that's right. Simcha Shmuel David. That's right.
Simcha Shmuel David.
My name is also Shmuel David.
See? My name is not Shmuel David, but we do have a David Shmuel in our community.
And we have Simcha Shmuel David. That's right. He was just born.
Simcha Shmuel David. Wonderful. Nice meeting you. What word can best describe Schatzy? I think serial entrepreneur.
Schatzy is a business coach, expert in marketing, registered play therapist, and founder of Parnassa Anchor, a volunteer job placement agency that has secured over $5 million in salaries for over 300 people in 15 industries. I think that may include surgeons, engineers, and politicians too.
I don't know about politicians, but everything else maybe.
And one of the most impressive things about Schatzy is his love for the Gate of Trust. I think you've read and taught the Gate of Trust over 25 times. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm almost finished my 25th cycle.
What is Schatzy's main drive behind all his entrepreneurial ventures?
How did Schatzy get so hooked on the Gate of Trust?
And I can't wait to hear the Chidushim, innovative ideas that Schatzy will share with our listeners.
All this and more with today's Gate of Trust podcast guest, David Schatzkamer.
David, take it away.
We specifically want to know the things you don't want to tell us. Off the record. We want to know
Off the record.
I didn't know this was going to be such a high-stakes interview, Matt. You didn't tell me. Like, the stuff that he was going to tell me, he would have to kill me. So, I don't know. We're living on the edge. Who knew? Who knew we were living on the edge?
We know that you are a serial entrepreneur, but can you give us a little bit of an idea how your career developed? Business tangents or lines leading to a certain destination?
I guess my main profession, you want to call it, is I'm a registered play therapist. That's what I do. That's my hobby. That's my passion. But it really comes down to the world of play. So everything I do has that play component. Like, I don't do anything I don't enjoy. I'm going to do whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do. I'm not driven by anything like monetary goals or whatever. I'm going to do something because I enjoy doing it. That's really what I guess the underlining foundation to all that I do.
Maybe you could tell everybody, what is play therapy? It's not something that I'm familiar with.
To put it briefly, kids who are younger are able to express themselves more freely through play, through toys. They show you their world, what's going on for them, working through things through the world of play. That's the gist of it.
But you're also into all kinds of other businesses. How did you fall upon the Gate of Trust, and how does it shape your career?
Growing up, my father always had this saying where it was this fluid type of thing where he would say, Gamzla Tova. Something happened, Gamzla Tova. It was like a second nature type of thing. So I grew up in terms of that idea, like, okay, like, you lost something, Gamzla Tova. This happened, Gamzla Tova. So it was really part of that. Like, and also growing up, I would do it in my house too. My kids would say, like, I would just say to them, like, just say Gamzla Tova. You'll find what you need, So it was really like, that's going back. That's I think where it started from. And I think it was many, many years ago, I asked a friend of mine, wanted to learn something new. I haven't really done too much of it. Going back, I don't know how many years. And we decided Shar B'Tachan. Now, he backed out, so I just decided, okay, I'll just go full force with it. I'll find a chavrusa, I'll do it myself, That's really where it took a little bit more shape from it, where I started really learning it, plugging away a little bit out of a day, and it just morphed into something so much more bigger, more pronounced, more transformative, etc., etc.
What do you mean by more pronounced, more transformative? How did it transform your life?
Like it's when you're learning it once and you're doing it, learning it through, and then you're doing it again, and like when you start making bitachon your frame of reference, I like to say, then it just impacts your whole day life. Like you're just very chilled in a way, lack of a better word. Like this, okay, like I was on a highway driving back from Pennsylvania to New York, and a guy hit my car in the back. Now, normal people would probably get upset. I walked out, I was like, chill, and this guy's like bugging out and like going sugar. I'm like thinking, I'm the one that should be upset at you, not you. And I'm like, okay, listen, it happens. I have to be here. Who, what, when, why? This is what God wanted best to happen. Is it so much of it? It's not like everybody's safe. Okay, it's a couple of dollars, whatever it may be. Like it was just more. It's just a way of being where you approach your life and what you're doing and your whole day. Like in a way, you're carried by God. Like that feeling where you don't need to worry about too many things. It's easier said than done. And that's why, like, it's bitachon is like an avodah. Like, you have to, like, really go through it, learn it like this. Also, I expanded my learning over the time. I learned Shar B'Tachan, Madregas Adam, Chada Kemach, Beis Halevi. I learned it's more like Be'in. Like, it's more like I encompass everything else around the world of bitachon and putting into practice on a daily basis.
So Schatzy, I want to dig into that. Like you said, it's harder. It's harder to do than it is to talk about, right? So some people, accident example, like you're a busy guy and you have things to do, and now nobody got injured, but now you have this new. For me, like, and for maybe for other people, it's like now I have a new task. Thank God no one's hurt, but now I have a new task, a new tsuris to focus on, right?
But what's the tsuris?
The tsuris is I have a broken car. Like nobody was hurt, but I have a broken car and I want the car to be fixed, right? So now I got to go through and schlep and go and get it fixed and this and that and a rental car. So then start thinking about all of that. So how do you get chill about like all the ramifications of when something like that happens to me and maybe to others? It's like, oh, now I have all these things on my plate. I wasn't planning to have to handle this, this thing that happened. Like, how do you, like you said, like, how do you organize that given your studies and your intense training on the topic that gets you chill, even though now you have, maybe I just reminded you of your new to-do list. I don't know.
No, I'll tell you, like my to-do list, like it's a lease car. So I have to fix it before I return the lease, right? But my lease is not over till March of the following year. I don't need to fix it now. And when I need to fix it, I will have the money, the wherewithal to fix it. So right now, I'm not letting that anxiety. It's more like, this is the step process I need to get done. It says you should toil with your hands, not your mind. Don't get bogged down by stuff. Like there's a system in place. You got to call the mechanic, got to do this. It's like a checklist. There shouldn't be any type of anxiety. Okay. You just got to get things done. That's all. Like you want to go shopping for food. You got to go shopping for food. You got to take the list, go shopping, click, 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 check all the boxes. It's the same thing. You have to fix your car. Okay. So you have to go to the mechanic. You have to fix the car. You have to do this and you have to schedule in your calendar. It's just like a thing to do. It's not getting caught up in the emotional part of, oh my gosh, I gotta do this. How am I gonna do it? How am I gonna afford it? When am I gonna do it? Like that just wastes so much more time and agmas nefesh, and you just for nothing. Like there's no point in it,
Gotcha.
And I go back to the voida part is more like having that conversation with yourself and with God. Like you have to like verbalize things. Like you have to talk to yourself, talk to God, like, so people could hear you. Like they think you're schizophrenic, but you're really not because you're talking to God, Like, I was importing, exporting business I do as far as my side hustle, you want to call it. And one night at 8 o'clock, I found out some information. Now, keep in mind, at 9:30, I have a chavrusa with Shar B'tachan at 9:30. So 8 o'clock, I found out I'm going to be in big trouble with the government, and I'm going to owe double 5-digit numbers of fees because they messed up something. So for 5 minutes, I have to say I was a little bit bugging out because it was very scary when the government's coming down and you're owing fines and whatnot at 8 o'clock, and 9:30 is my chavrusa. So after like a few minutes, I went outside and I talked to God. Listen, I learned Shar B'tachan, I don't know what it was, 11 times. I said, you can handle this. This is, you can deal with it. You've done it. You've been here, done that, So I had a conversation with God for about 30 minutes, walking around the block. And I went to my chavrusa and learned with the Rav of my shul at 9:30. I never sent any email. I never followed up on anything. I never inquired on anything to do with this issue whatsoever. Nothing. Mamash gave it, as a pasuk says in Tehillim, Taf Nun Hey pasuk Chav Gimel. Cast your burden onto God, and Hashem will support you. That's exactly what I did. And you know what? The government didn't issue any problems, and someone else paid my fine. I don't know who, what, when, but it took care of it.
Wow.
Wow, this is a great story because you've proven the point. If you have bitachon and you really go all in casting your burden upon Hashem, then you actually literally have to do nothing and Hashem will take care of things.
Yeah, but it can't be lip service. Like some people say, yeah, I'd be talking will go well, but you have to really feel it like there's nothing else bothering you. Like you have to really, you have that feeling like when you're getting nervous, anxiety, and frustrated or whatever, you have that knot in your stomach, in your chest. Like it can't be there. Like that, you'll know that's if you're really real. And God's going to know if you're real because He knows what's in your heart. He knows what's in your neshama. He knows if you're real or not. Not just paying lip service, as Chavos Avramos would say.
Right. Sincerity is key.
You have to be real. And B'tachan, I find like it's different levels where you're holding. It's a continuum. It's not one level fits all. It's like where you're holding. Like people ask me like questions like, what do I do? And my response would be like, okay, but it depends on where you're holding. I had a friend of mine who owes a lot of money. He has a lot of kids and he's financial stressed. Let's put it that way, to say the least. He owes so many people money, so much. It's like, it's sad, but ask me like he's one of the persons I bought Shar B'tachan for. So I bought that sefer. I bought 200 volumes and I gave it out for free to people who want to learn it. So he was one of the recipients. And he learns it. And he asked me like, what do I do? People coming to the money. So I said to him, next time someone comes to money, tell me you're going to pay him back tomorrow. Yeah, but I don't have the money. I said, but God, anything is possible. Just tell them you're going to pay him back. That's all. Tomorrow. Okay. So he called me up one day. He said, I got to tell you something. Someone came to him the day before. I says, you owe me $700. I need the money. And he had no money in his bank. He literally doesn't have any money in his bank. So he said, I'm going to pay you tomorrow. And he said, Schatzy, I got a call from someone out of the blue. He says, I have a couple of shekels I can give you. I'm giving you $700. I kid you not. Okay. He comes and he pays the guy back because the guy, gave him a check for $700. So he said, why can't that work when the guy says I owe him $25,000? What's that? Why can't I have that happen? I said, there's one difference. When he came to you for that $700, you had 100% bitachon. There was no doubt in your mind that you're going to get that $700. Am I right? He says, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100% right. And there's no difference between God, 25,000, 100,000. So God is unlimited. If you 100% have that bitachon, anything is possible.
So I hear you saying that that what we have with bitachon is a blank check. It's a blank check policy. If you buy into it, it's unlimited. I mean, it's bigger than the U.S. Treasury, which seems to be limited.
There's no limit to God, right? God is infinite. There's nothing He can do. Nothing. Some things are easier than others. Don't get me wrong.
Sure. Sure.
But when you make it, and how you make the big things much more easier is when you go about your day, your normal day, and work the bitachon in your normal routine of life So it becomes part of how you operate, part of your operating system. Like when you're looking for parking, when you're going outside, when you're going to the grocery store, have that mindset, that awareness, that bitachon on the smaller things. When the bigger things come or the more stressful, you could like pound away on it.
Yeah. So taking it to the next, another level, how are you then able to translate bitachon into your entrepreneurial endeavors?
I don't worry about what's going to be tomorrow. I operate here and now. What's in front of me now, this is where it's at. And that also comes into play with play. When you're playing with kids, they're always in the moment of playing. There's nothing else going on. Like they're focused, they're playing, they're having fun. So with business, it's knowing that whatever I'm doing, whatever vessels I'm creating because God wants me to create that vessel for me. And I'm having bitachon that it should come through those vessels. But I'm not limiting myself, meaning you could be a janitor and making millions of dollars come something else. You're not limited. Like, why do you, like, people tell me, okay, I can't make a living being a teacher. I said, why do you care where it comes from? You could be a teacher and make millions of dollars too. What are you limiting yourself just for being a teacher? Who know? I was working at a nonprofit. I had an intern with me. We used to go for lunch a couple of times. After a few times lunch, we decided instead of going for lunch, we'll just open a business. And that's how it started. So you don't know. You could be working wherever you're working, doing whatever you're doing. You have no limit to where God can provide for your sustenance and your ability to.
Very nice. So you said, Schatzy, that when you're with kids, play is in the moment. When you're doing business, entrepreneurial ventures, you're also in the moment. You're sort of recognizing that God is here with you, right?
Yeah.
So how do we stay in the moment when things are not just a car accident, where thank God everyone is okay, or not just groceries, or not just a shopping list, when things are maybe health related? So you have any good stories about how to use bitachon as a way to help you through health crises?
I would say it's the same format, but it's like, I had a friend of mine, older friend, a colleague of mine, and he was going through to have a procedure done, and he was scared it was gonna be cancerous. It was either gonna be behind the line or after the line, the assist. Okay, so I said, listen, just like God can make it behind the line, He can make it above the line too. It can happen whenever and whoever happens. So you have to know with bitachon, Hashem is going to make it available for you after the line. Gonna make it available. You don't have to worry about it. You're in God's hands. And he went for the procedure, and Baruch Hashem, it wasn't cancerous. He was very relieved. But people can get so down, and people get so nervous about stuff. But it's that kind of nervousness that's sometimes makes the outcome the way that you're feeling. I think it says when Moshe Rabbeinu killed a Mitzri, right? He doesn't have Tom, and he was scared or something. And then the next pasuk, Paro heard. Paro only heard because you were scared, right?
The Rebbe said Shmos, yeah.
Yeah, if you have bitachon, like you could change the outcome. You could literally see it with Paro Mamash, but some things are easier than others. Yeah, 100%. I'm not a mumkin in it, but it's definitely a work in progress.
So Schatzy, we're in similar businesses. I'm in a for-profit staffing business, finding people jobs, and you're in a not-for-profit. How do you leverage bitachon in those efforts?
I'll tell you what I do, and we could decipher it. I get between 50 to 100 calls a week, people looking for jobs. I take all phone calls. I speak to them, I hear them, give them more chizuk, hopefulness, or, like trying to promote that bitachon, like you'll find a job, you'll find a parnassa, where, who, what, when, where. Sometimes people say, yeah, but I need it tomorrow. Yeah, but maybe God's waiting for something just really good for you. So wouldn't you rather wait a couple of days, a couple of months? Right? It's like, I think Shar Bitachon brings down a story where getting water, but it was bitter water. But had they waited a little bit longer, they would have had sweet water. So if you know that God's waiting for the best possible situation for you, He knows what's best for you. You just have to wait for it. You'd wait for it. You wouldn't be nervous. You'd go about your day. You do your styles because Hashem created this world that we have to do something. Okay, you're doing something. You're making phone calls. Okay, for your level bitachon, you have to make 15 phone calls, or you make 5 phone calls. Okay, so whatever you're holding, wherever you're at, that's where you have to be at. I've helped people all the time. I'm saying to my best ability to find positions, and I tell them, I'm not the only shliach. God has infinite ways of finding your job. You could be in a grocery store for all I care, find a job. What do you care where you find the job where you want? I'm just one avenue possibly to help you find Parnassa.
That sounds reasonable. I never really also thought of myself as a shliach, but I guess in a way I am as well. It's very interesting. So that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes I say those things inadvertently, but I like the way you put it. That's very helpful.
Schatzy, having learned the Gate of Trust 25 times, you must realize that there are a lot of people out there who own the White Book or who own other books in Bitachon, and they start them and they can't finish them. For whatever reason, you can tell me maybe why you think they haven't finished it. But in general, what can you do to help people start and finish the Gate of Trust? And what do you think are the strategies for a successful learning of the Gate of Trust?
Give yourself at least a kaveh item. It could be once a week. It could be twice a week. It could be every day. 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes. Time yourself. Put it on the clock. Put a timer on your watch, on your phone. 5 minutes. Just focus on that 5 minutes once a week, once a day, once every 2 days, whatever that may be that will work for you in your schedule. You have lots of clients. People have lots of clients. I'm too busy to even talk to people these days. Put it in 5 minutes in your calendar. Carve it out in 5 minutes. You're not asking yourself to do an hour a day or, every single day. Do 5 minutes. Do a little bit. I go to a chavrusa once a week. The Rav, we learn Shabbat once a week for an hour. Sunday nights we learn. That's my chavrusa with that rabbi there, We learn. And we finish it a few times already. You can't, I know people it's business too. People like starting, but they don't know, they run out of steam, or they don't know where to start. You just got to start somewhere, a little bit. Don't make big, hasagas, and you have to finish it, and you have to do it, and it has to gonna be too long because it's 300 pages. Don't look past page one. Just do page one.
But it seems like even though you've learned it and you've learned it well and you've internalized it completely, it still seems like you still have that caveat of learning it every week. So it is something that needs to be constantly learned and relearned, and the refresher 100%. Is definitely just as important as the first read. Is that
every time you learn it, you have to learn it like you're learning it for the first time. And if you're learning it like the first time, you'll get more out of it.
I heard you say that you bought 200 copies, or you shared 200 copies with people to get them going, get them started. What gave you that impetus to try to share the Gate of Trust with so many people?
I know, just decided that it works, it's part of my life, and help others too.
Felix, I would say serial entrepreneur with a heart.
Yes.
They're coming up with, what's his name? Yossi told me from Gate of Trust. He's coming up with a pocket version. So for me, I'm like, okay, pocket version, I could probably get, I don't know, 500 copies and see what I could do with that, So recently I started learning with chabruas, different people from around the United States, around the world, So yeah, I'm saying it's very important, it's very impactful, It just also, it just, it says in the pasuk, right, when bitachon, kindness surrounds you, right? You see, like once you learn, like your family picks up on it, your kids pick up on it, people gravitate towards bitachon when they see it, feel it.
For sure. I think at the Bitachon revolution, I don't know if you see it, but all over the place, people are learning and teaching it.
Yeah. It's
becoming part of the way the world sees the world and lives in the world.
It's and each one to their level. Like you can, I'm not expecting people to do like me, and I'm not expecting them to do like I'm doing like them. Everybody's their own level, so I can't, you're not imposing anything. You're just, wherever you're holding, that's where you're at, but you're implementing it because you're on your own level, on your own individual journey,
Beautiful.
I think, Schatzy, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's easy to see that you're bought in. We talk to a lot of people, they're bought in, but you're really bought in. And it's wonderful talking to you. I can see, as part of my job, talking to people that need jobs, it's very difficult. A lot of people have a very difficult situation. So for you to be able to do the chesed of talking to people, being worried about taking care of your family because you lack a job, is probably the biggest fear most people have. I mean, the fear of losing your job might be above fear, God forbid, of dying, because taking care of your family is so important. So special blessings to you for that effort again, because I know how hard that is. But really great advice on how to get yourself into, a person can get themselves into a position to where they can have an abundance of bitachon, enough so much that they have for themselves, they have for their family, and they have for others. So very, very nice. Thank you. Chazak and Baruch. Thank you for sharing, and your more strength to you to continue your efforts.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Schatzy.
It's been a pleasure.
Look forward to learning it with you one day. You and I can sit down and learn a few pages. It'd be great. 5 minutes. That's all we need.
You just tell me where and when. I'll make it happen.
I'll call you.
Okay. Standing by. Take care.
So Felix, what do you think?
I think we'll see, but I'm wondering if, I think what will happen is when people hear this, if politicians hear this, the one thing I can be sure of is they'll take credit for his jobs that he's helping people get. That's for sure. I know that's a fact. Obviously, he's someone he's very humble, and someone who's taking his success, literally putting his money where his mouth is. I mean, to buy hundreds of the books, I'm not saying they're, $1 million, but they're not cheap. And so he's investing in his kindness as well, and really paying it forward. So really, really quite an individual. It's great that we had an opportunity to speak with him and to share his story with our listeners.
Yeah, I think one of the things beyond the peace of mind and the worry-free lifestyle that Bitachon brings, the other thing is I think it gives you shpilches. It gives you a fire to do things. We understand the importance of achieving good deeds in this world for the world to come. And I think that he seems to be on fire to not only accomplish in his own life, but really to help others. It's not just by mistake that he's a master of Bitachon. He's also a master of doing deeds of kindness and sharing kindness, whether it be with children, people who he's learning with, people who he's teaching, or people he's helping find jobs. He really seems to be going beyond in that scope as well.
Agreed.
I feel like I'm going to go back into surgery. How about you? Politics?
I think I'll just stick to recruiting. It's hard enough.
Thank you for listening to the Gate of Trust podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a rating, and share the podcast with the people you love. To access today's show notes, ask Matt and Felix a question, or suggest the Gate of Trust story to be featured on the show, visit gateoftrust.org/podcast.
You think you got it under control, you're on a roll, living it up, living your dreams. But when it all goes bust at the seams, then you scream and cry to the one on high.